Hello, everyone. Today, I'm going to talk to three subject matter experts from IBM about the latest developments in tech, such as artificial intelligence and cognitive computing, blockchain, voice bots, and how they're used in practice. Today's session is a bit of a sneak preview to IBM's Think Digital Summit UK and Ireland, which is their flagship event that will take place on October 13th and 14th and is free to attend. To explore the topics of how tech is used to enhance the fan experience in sport, how we use AI to re-engineer business processes, and the increasingly important role of voice bots, I am joined by three speakers from IBM, which I will bring in one by one today. Okay, so my first speaker is Angela Priest. Let's bring Angela into this conversation. Hi, Angela.
Hi, Bernard. Great to be here.
Yeah, it's nice to have you with us. So you're an associate partner of cognitive process reengineering global business services at
Yeah.
IBM. What does that involve?
So basically, it involves helping clients make change happen. I focus very much on finance and the back office, but my experience is quite broad from commercial and finance and operations across education, telecommunications, and PR. So a good variety of background, and I just love helping clients make change. Profitable and beneficial, both from an employee perspective, but also from a customer perspective.
Very good. And you're aligned with a Think session on redesigning business processes at speed.
Yes.
So what do you see in the marketplace then? You said you're particularly focused on finance and back office. Maybe we can start there.
So what I'm seeing in the marketplace is that clients are starting to bring um, tools and technologies that they've deployed in their customer-facing activities and bring them inside the organization. There's a saying that your best experience is your last best experience. So whoever that might have been with, actually employees are starting to expect that same experience inside. And so we're seeing finance and HR adopt these new technologies of AI, of conversational analysis, and different ways of delivering service in the same way that we've used them for customers for a number of years now.
So do you see the balance at the moment is clearly on the customer side, but companies are realizing actually they can use those tools for their back office and business processes as well?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And I think it's that making the employee experience as good as the customer experience. I mean, when you're looking at shortages of different skill sets, actually, it's important that you get people working in the best way you can, and particularly with processes that are trying to deliver controls and against regulation, it's important that those processes are enacted effectively, and the best way to do that is by using automation and AI to guide people along that process, that way of working.
Yeah,
And so, go on. Sorry.
I think it's a really good point. I think it's hugely important that we realize and businesses realize that employees are probably as important as customers. And what we need to do is we need to give them a great experience, because nowadays the whole employment space is shifting, changing so dramatically. And if people don't have a good experience and think, why are we not using the latest technology, they might be tempted to go somewhere else as well.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I think also I can see some clients spend a lot of money on the PR, on the presentation of them as an employment brand, and then the actual experience once you get inside the organization doesn't match up to that branding, if you like, and that there's a dissonance there that's quite difficult for people.
Hmm. So what can we expect to hear and see at this session for Think?
So Paola Molino is a client of mine, working in Vodafone Group IT, Group Technology. And she talks about delivering services from group functions to the local operating companies. Reusing approaches that work across different markets. So you might start with the UK or start with Germany, and then roll things out to different languages and in different operating companies, and in particular learning from each other, so that each time the service delivery improves. She talks about being able to make a return on investment, and I think for those of us who work in the finance arena, that's a very present issue that people struggle with, and particularly making a return on investment even when you've offshored and you've done the labor arbitrage on the process you're trying to automate and apply AI to. And then she also talks about enabling teams to grow their skills. So this is a great evolution of, starting with using suppliers and partners as part of your team, and then moving in-house so that you can deliver it internally, and often, again, back to the employee experience, delivering opportunities for people inside the organization to develop their careers and move into new areas of operation. So
And
it's an interesting piece.
yeah, so bringing AI skills and data science skills back
Yeah.
into Vodafone.
Yes, and I think part of the challenge of this next generation of technology is you can't. It's very difficult to make a return on investment if you're always deploying external folk.
Mm.
And I think from an employee experience perspective, it's also like, why aren't we getting the opportunity to grow in this area? But the skills are very different. So if I look at my own function of finance, data science, being able to analyze data and use AI in your analytics activity is very different to how you might have originally learned to be an accountant, and using Excel and so on. And so the skills don't necessarily morph directly, but you're looking at building on people's innate capability and building that skill set. So it's as much about change as it is about the technology.
Yeah, sounds like a really positive use case, because what I'm seeing is that there's still a lot of fear in organizations, especially when you talk about applying AI to automate and improve internal business processes. One of the first thing that comes to people's mind is, what does it mean for my job in the future? Are we automating my job? And actually, what you're saying here is that actually it hopefully improves the employee experience. It makes it better. It gives the ability of employees to work alongside more intelligent AIs and
Yeah.
cognitive systems, and at the same time, hopefully brings new job opportunities into the
Yeah.
organization.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And I think the interesting thing is, so often the things that you're automating actually don't form part of anybody's particular job description. So if you look at, guiding people through processes, you typically don't see that in a job description. So it becomes an add-on to the job, and not necessarily what you joined the organization for, and therefore eliminating that and making it a more, actually all I'm going to do is help you with the really difficult problems, actually improves that experience as well. It's for both user and the person they're helping.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So why do you think Vodafone's experience is relevant to other organizations? What can others take away from their journey?
So I think Vodafone are often at the leading edge of trying out new technologies. They're not afraid to fail on occasion, although nobody plans that route. But they're not afraid to start out with new technologies, and they were one of the first organisations to deploy chatbots in their customer facing arena. And I think for me the link is the pride that they hold in giving employees opportunities. I think there's some great learning about how you go about that in the conversation with Paola. Not not that you sit there and wait for them to land on you, but you take the opportunity, you go and grab it and use it to develop your skills. And I think there's a learning there as well from what didn't work and what doesn't work as well
Mm.
as what did work. So there's a certain amount of enabling other organisations to leapfrog them and avoid the pitfalls in the early stages. I think it's a useful use case that where you don't need to be as large as Vodafone to take some output and some value from that session.
Very good. Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to that session. Should be good. Thank you so much for your time, Angela.
Thank you very much indeed, Bernard.
Okay, so my next speaker is Tom Fleetham, who is a senior management consultant and the UK and Ireland lead for sports at IBM. Hi, Tom.
Hi, Bernard. It's great to meet you. How you doing?
Yeah, really good. And the topic of using AI and technology in sports is super exciting for me. I'm part of the Think panel on how Wimbledon is using AI, which I find super exciting. And you have a session called a winning return and enhancing fan experience. And this is obviously something that is becoming hugely important. Sports obviously is a huge multi-billion-dollar industry across the world. Improving fan experience is super important. So what should leaders of sports organizations be worried about that they are maybe not currently focused on?
Cool. So from my point of view, Bernard, it's quite personal actually. So I've got two young boys. One's 4, one's 18 months. And particularly with the 4-year-olds, I'm already seeing how he's more interested in playing on an iPad and playing certain apps and games than he is in traditional sport. And I've got no problem with gaming and esports. I think the way that world's evolving is fantastic. But for me, traditional sport will always be something that's really special and precious and that needs to be looked after. So
Hmm.
I consider it my sort of personal mission within IBM to work with our sports organizations to work out how they can use digital technology to drive value across their organization. And in doing that, try to compete with some of the, I suppose, more digital native forms of entertainment that are capturing everybody's attention nowadays.
Yeah, I agree. And I think there's so many opportunities to do this. When I was chatting to Wimbledon, we were talking about this whole new world of video gaming. So I've got slightly older kids. My ones are 10, 13, and 16. And the 10 and 13-year olds are definitely into a bit into gaming, like all of them are. But these worlds are becoming so much more than just gaming. It's really interesting that you can have now concerts in Fortnite. You can have all of these new experiences. And for me, this is really interesting. So I find it interesting how Formula E, for example, is bringing in virtual reality. So you can do some of the bit of the ghost racing to really capture and really entertain a new market segment and keep up with what younger people or anyone really is interested in. So how are some of your clients using technology and AI to drive value today?
So there's loads of examples. I mean, they're probably the one that I think is the most impressive use of AI is actually what we do at the Masters. And what we do there is enable fans to go on, choose their like fantasy four ball that they think are going to score
Which is golf,
the.
just in case anyone has not heard of the
Yes, sorry.
Masters. Yeah.
Yeah, so one of the four major golf tournaments. So you go and you choose your fantasy four golfers that you think are going to perform well over the week. You're then able to access a personalized stream of content that's just focused around the shots that those four players are playing. But the bit that's really interesting for me is then the stream is also then interrupted with any really important shots that other players may have played in the meantime. So it's that combination of like uber personalization of your experience, but also making sure that you're not missing the bigger picture and that you understand how what you're watching is playing into the overall narrative. And I think that's just a great example of how AI can be used to enhance an experience. Because ultimately, I think the reason that games and esports are so popular is that it's a complete change in medium, and that's how it needs to be seen. So you're going from linear TV to a streaming platform where effectively you can get a super personalized stream of the thing that you're really interested in, and you can talk to the star of the show through the chat stream. And I think that's actually what sports organizations need to realize, that that's a fundamentally better experience, and actually they need to where possible use digital technology to, if not replicate that, then find other ways of engaging fans in more exciting ways.
So what are some of the innovations that you're seeing that are driving the and transforming the fan experience in sports then in the future?
So I think going forwards in the long term, the area that really excites me is all around blockchain technology. So
Mhm.
I've been interested in blockchain and crypto for about 6 or 7 years now, when I first stumbled across Bitcoin. Um, I never thought that the two worlds and my two passions of sport and blockchain were necessarily going to merge, but I think recently we're actually starting to see this happening. So in two key ways. So firstly, there's the explosion of NFTs, or non-fungible tokens, which are mainly focused at the moment around like digital collectibles. Being able to purchase a piece of art that you use as your profile picture is particularly popular. And it may be that these are just in a bubble at the moment and that crashes. But I think ultimately, actually, sports organizations need to look at this trend and think, how can we set up the infrastructure so that however this evolves and however this space develops, we can capitalize on it, we can take advantage of it, and we can start delivering new experiences for our fans. And so we're currently working with various sports organizations and also some fashion organizations to put in like a digital wallet infrastructure, so that yes, they can potentially come up with an NFT collection today that will generate some revenue, but it may be in the future that there's some kind of other tokenized way of engaging with fans or customers, and they'll have that infrastructure in place. And that's an area where we're seeing real potential.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, go on.
No, for me, this is super interesting. This whole idea of using blockchain to verify your ownership of certain things. So I guess we see this already in sports, where you have like a soccer shirt that is authentic, and now you have a digital verification of this. But I think it also brings the opportunity to have a physical shirt and the digital version that you can then theoretically wear as a skin in your video game. So for me, there are lots of really interesting opportunities there.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, it took me a while to get my head around, if I'm honest. When I first saw this sort of craze of NFTs, I thought, oh, like, why would anyone spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on what's essentially like a JPEG, right? But I'm starting to come to the conclusion that actually, really, it's all around status symbols, and that signed shirt that maybe you've got it in a frame behind you, right, in your Zoom call. But still, there's a limited number of people that are ever going to see that and understand that you've got that item. But if you've got an authentic NFT of a particularly special moment in a game, or maybe it's some kind of other digital collectible that's particularly impressive, suddenly millions of people can see that through social media. Perhaps we're going to see new NFT based social media platforms that are really designed around this new way of engaging, that's effectively going to act as like a digital art gallery for you to show off what you've been collecting. And once that dawned on me that actually this is about status symbols, not just more than anything, that's when I started to see, oh, okay, there is real potential here. Because let's be honest, whether it's the car you drive, the watch you wear, the brand of trainers that you choose, there's so much of what we buy is based on what we want to tell the world about ourselves. And I think that's really the key when sports organizations look to understand how their brand can fit in with this new ecosystem.
100% agree. So you were talking about what other technologies and trends and innovations do you think will have an impact?
So so I was just going to touch on the other side of blockchain technology that we're starting to see is around like basically allowing fans to own part of the club through like tokenization. Now, this has been tried in many different ways with different levels of success, particularly in football. But I do think that the blockchain technology and the startups you're seeing in this space seem to be getting to the point where they're kind of ready. And I think there's a real appetite from fans, particularly in the wake of the European Super League scandal, for example. This could potentially give a real opportunity for sports organizations to reconnect with fans, build some trust, give them some voting rights, give them a sense of ownership within the club, maybe use it as a basis for a reward system, like a loyalty scheme that rewards fans for all of the ways that they're loyal to their club, not just physically going to the stadium, spending a huge amount of money. I think there's real potential there for the organizations that take it seriously and don't just see it as a cash grab, but that actually want to truly engage with fans. I think this can make a real difference.
Yeah, I agree. Do you have any views on this whole idea of creating a metaverse, so this increasingly digital universe that sits parallel to the real world? For me, this has real implications for sports potentially. I was talking about using video games already, where we can now go and watch a concert. So you can watch Marshmello or Ariana Grande perform live in Fortnite. For me, there's a real opportunity to bring sports into this metaverse that many companies are starting to talk about. Is this something you're seeing or that you're potentially excited about?
So, yeah, I don't think it's something I'm seeing with my clients yet, but it's definitely something I'm excited about personally. I think blockchain can be a part of that too. I think potentially it's going to be an Ethereum wallet where the items in the metaverse are held, right? And maybe your, I don't know, particularly special NFL helmet is something that you can trade and then send over to a friend, and then suddenly their avatar has that helmet. I can see that certainly the metaverse being created on a blockchain is certainly a possibility, rather than it being this sort of centralized Ready Player One style situation where it's owned by some evil corporation who may have ulterior motives. But I think when it comes to sports, there are loads of opportunities to think differently about the way we engage, whether it's through VR and augmented reality. I think we're starting to see a lot of that. But ultimately, for me, there's something really special about live sport, and it's basically the only thing you don't time shift in terms of content. It still gathers a huge audience all around TV screens or computer screens or mobile screens, whatever it is, all at the same time. It still connects generations. It's the main thing I talk to my dad about, is football and golf and cricket and whatever else. And ultimately, I don't think you can beat that live atmosphere in a stadium. And actually, I think as more and more of our lives are lived online and potentially in the metaverse at some point, I think that authentic experience that you get, that sort of physical connection of being in a stadium, maybe that becomes even more special. At least that's what I hope for the future. We'll see.
I agree. Very good. Super interesting, Tom. And anyone who wants to learn more with this really super exciting topic can head to the Think Summit, and don't miss the session on a winning, return enhancing fan experience. Thank you, Tom.
Thanks, Bernard. Great to meet you.
Okay, and my next session is with Mireille Dooley, French, who is the client executive for Irish retail and banking organizations. Hi, Mireille.
Hi, Bernard, and thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, so nice to have you with us. So maybe you can give us a little bit more information about what you do at IBM.
Absolutely. So I guess I'm part of the IBM technology team here in Dublin, and I look after a number of our business partners, specifically, I guess, probably around the banking and the retail industry. So that's really where I fit into the IBM world here in Dublin.
Very good. So from an Irish perspective then, what are you seeing in the market? What are your partners telling you about? What is driving change and driving the conversations there?
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to share what we're hearing from both clients and our business partners. There, I guess, a couple of themes. I guess the first one is in or around customer experience. And I guess this has been around pre and post COVID, where we're all guilty of it ourselves. I guess we as consumers are driving the agenda. And we'll hear a couple of speakers talk about this at our Think session on the 14th, specifically around public sector, where I guess, consumers are expecting the same level of service from public sector now as they would from private sector. So we're going to hear a great case study on that from Accenture and from the Office of Revenue Commissioners, who are one of the first revenue agencies in the world actually to implement a chatbot to improve customer experience for their citizens.
Okay, very
so
good.
That's the first point. The second area, I guess, is in or around. I guess the remote working hit us all when COVID started here way back in 2020, and I guess it's just a lot of organisations are high on their agenda security and prevention of cyber attacks for while their staff are working remotely. I guess the third area we are seeing, and again, we have a panel session with our business partners, and they'll probably don't want to preempt their conversations, but they will take you through what they're hearing firsthand from their clients. But it is in around the whole digital transformation process has had to speed up for a lot of organizations in order to cope with the new world of working remotely. So they're the main areas that we are seeing, or the main themes that we are hearing from our clients and business partners, Bernard.
Very good. And then you've got a few clients talking at Think, so maybe you can give us a little sneak preview of some of the things that they will be talking about and some of the topics that you will cover.
I certainly happy to do that. I guess one of the first things I'd like to say is I've had a look at the Think platform, the new Think platform myself in the last couple of days, and it is a fantastic new digital platform. It's really engaging and easy to use. So for a virtual event, it makes it really, really easy to navigate. And it's a great forum for our clients, for our business partners alike, to gain insight and education and some valuable information about how other organizations are using IBM technology. And to give you a flavor of some of those, we have Fran Thompson from the CIO of HSE. He is going to share with us how the HSE had to meet the challenge of extreme urgency in vaccinating Ireland. And, as the majority of us will have been recipients of that and know what a huge undertaking it was for the HSE.
Which is the Irish Health Service, right?
The Irish Health Service, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So what have they done to enable them a better rollout? What technologies have been involved in this process?
So I guess without going in, I want to steal Fran's thunder on this, but it really, I guess it was a collaboration between IBM, and Salesforce and the HSE in helping them put together the vaccination system that we all used to register to vaccinate get ourselves vaccinated in Ireland.
Very good. Very good. What other topics will you cover, or will there be at Think?
Yeah, we have so we have the Fingal County Council. So Dominic Byrne, who's the head of IT at Fingal County Council, is going to explain how automating processes with IBM has really improved the public sector's trust and indeed ultimately enhanced the customer experience for the citizens of Fingal County Council.
Okay, and they're using a voice bot, is that right?
No, that is, I'll take you to that one in a minute. They are using just automating their processes, just automating business, robotics, automating business processes.
Okay, yeah, very good.
And then we have, I mentioned earlier, we have David Conway, from Accenture, and Damon Keller from the Office of Revenue Commissioners. And they are going to share with us their story in how they implemented the first voice bot to improve customer experience. And in fact, it did more than improve customer experience. I think it exceeded the customer experience for citizens of Ireland. And again, something that as taxpayers, a lot of the citizens of Ireland will be able to see for themselves and use.
So what?
And I think, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So what's your view on this whole application of voice bots in the public sector?
I think if I go back to a comment I made earlier, consumers rather expect the same level of service from public sector now as they do from private sector. So I guess they're not happy to wait on a telephone line waiting to have their calls dealt with. So the implementation of chatbots and virtual assistants is an ideal way of actually improving customer experience and being able to get your queries and questions answered much faster than waiting on a telephone line.
Very good. You were just about to talk about another use case?
Yeah, and the last one is, I guess it's back to the first question you asked me, what are we seeing in the Irish marketplace? I guess Ronan Dalton is the CTO for IBM here in Ireland. He is going to host a panel session with some of our business partners here locally on the challenges that they have seen post-COVID, what they're hearing from their clients, and what technologies their clients are, and what technologies they are bringing to their clients to help solve these problems.
Very good. Maybe you can give us a sneak peek into some of the technologies that you see as becoming really instrumental in driving transformation both in Ireland and anywhere else.
I think we probably mentioned a few of them already. I mean, certainly the automation of business processes, that they aren't individual dependent or people dependent, is key. I think the improvement of customer experience, the continuous improvement of customer experience. We all, as consumers, expect a level of service. We also expect to be able to interact with that service late in the evening, whether it's on our commute home or wherever. So, the facility, I guess the digital transformation process have to be in place in order to facilitate that type of engagement between customers and organizations. And again, and finally, I guess one that's probably very close to in the media in the last number of months and is around security. I mean, we're all regularly being targeted with the latest scams. It's how do you, as an organization, manage that, and how do you prevent it? Full stop.
Very good, super interesting. Thank you, Mairead. And the two sessions that I would recommend people have a look at Think is Emerging Stronger, Partnering for Sustained Growth in Ireland, which you've talked about, and then Game-Changing Conversations, Bringing Voice Bots to the public sector. Thank you very much.
My pleasure. Thank you, Bernard, for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us today. As always, please let me know your thoughts on the session. To rewatch this one or hundreds of more videos, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and don't forget to sign up to the IBM Think Summit 2021.